Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's now day 4 of the background drawing, and today I'm going to be bringing you this water background. I've had so many people since doing this image ask me how did I do it. So today everyone, you're going to be shown how I did this very quick, very simple water effect. Now obviously I've coloured this image, so I found in the book an image that's similar or that we can use, which is this one. So I just needed a plain background, so we'll do exactly the same kind of concept, but it'll be how I did this effect. And I coloured the whole thing in this one with about 12 colours. And then obviously it was 3 Neocolors that I did with this, which was a blue, a navy, a green, a navy, a light blue and a dark blue. So today I'm going to do a few more different colours. So I've got the Prussian Blue, Ultramarine, light blue, and I've added in for the outsides just a bit of turquoise blue, and I might add in a tiny bit of olive, light olive, if I want to add a bit of green to it. So I don't know why it's not as bright as normal because all my lights are on. So let me just turn the brightness up a second. Let it go in funny. I should have set this up before I actually started recording, so I do apologise. So let's go ahead with the Neocolor. So all I did, so imagine you have now coloured all this picture in. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. And this dragon, the way I did this one, because I'd put the colours of the dragon, come back to this page again, the dragon is going in and out of the water, hence why I've put the yellow and the green in with that to make it look like the rest of the water dragon is kind of around under the water as well as on top. This dragon on this image isn't, so I'm going to do it with the same concept. I'll add the green if I think we need to add it, but honestly this is really quick, so this video will be done and dusted quite quickly, and this is what we want when it comes to backgrounds, the quickness. We don't want to just literally spend hours and hours and hours on a background. So all my backgrounds, I'm going to attempt to show you what them all that would take no less than an hour. I think yesterday's one did creep over by 12 minutes, but you can let me off for that one. So this one, hopefully, I'm keeping my little tissue here for my water brush. If you're wondering what that is, that's what it's for. And I am using my Mont Marte, and this is a really gorgeous soft pointed one. I love these, and I love my Derwent ones, which are these ones. So this is a tiny one, so I may use that if I want to go in with little details. But these are my Mont Marte, and I've got 2 this size, and then I've got one a bit bigger, and then I've got somewhere a square looking one. But for some reason, some of my water brushes have grown legs and walked off. So, and I don't know where they've walked off to, but they have. I mean, they could be in the bathroom, because sometimes I do take my water brushes off to the bathroom to give them a clean out. But I honestly do not know what I've done with them. So we're going to get on with it. So I'm going to start off with the darkest colour first. So I always do that the darkest colour will run literally in all the darker areas. So with the Prussian Blue, the darkest of my blues in the Neocolors, I am literally just going to put it on and then soften it out deepen the edge or inside that area and then soften it out as I come out, because this would cause a natural shadow where it would start submerging into the water. So I always think naturally, what would you do naturally? What would it look like naturally? And if you struggle with that, grab a reference photo, just put in Google head submerged partly in water, and you will get an image like this where you can sit and look at the water and go, oh yeah, that's what shell means. So her head is kind of hovering above the water. So like I did in this one, we're going to go to the top of her head, but not really beyond it. So I will stop the dirt water about here. Probably gone a little bit too high there, really. But the good thing with Neocolors are you can rub them out. I mean, they won't rub completely out, but they'll rub out to a light enough. Let me try the ink side. I want that actual ink rubber, the one that rubs the ink eraser, which is this side. Ink for this side, which I think Neocolor is an ink, isn't it? So yeah, it's rubbed it out to a lighter perspective that I want, which is good. Told you I'm leaving my boo-boos in. So a hand is going to be submerged partly in the water as well, so I'm going to do down here. The trick with Neocolors, you need to make sure you've enough pigment down. But the beauty with water is you can add as you go along if you've not put enough in there. So I'm keeping it out so you can see what I'm doing, because I'm going to be working all over, so it's not just in one concentrated area. Then I'm not going to go straight in with the next darkest blue. What I want to do is just break that up a bit, and I'm going to put kind of little like broken lines. I don't want it to be a neat line. And we can continue some of these out just like this. Like I said, I am not being neat about it. We're going to the top of her head because it's going to look like this is what will be travelling behind her head, so it'd be lighter. So I'm just literally putting that in a really uneven scribble. Nothing major about it whatsoever. Just for that area, and then this area again. And I'm just thinking to myself in my head, well, what would water look like when it's just rippling or someone's coming out of it? What effect would it go? And we always get this rippling effect of water. So that is what I'm just recreating with the Neocolor. So this one is light blue. And we're just literally adding it in that kind of rippled, or what I would consider, and I'm coming quite far out with this one because obviously this is one of our lighter colours. And I'm just putting it in as though it would ripple, exactly how it would in the water. And then I'm going to add in our Ultramarine, which is our next blue, and I'm going to kind of go in between. Now don't worry about putting loads of pigment on here because you can add it in later. What you don't want to do is add too much that then you're like, oops, because you can put too much pigment on. I'm just going to go in between all these. Now if this lizard was in the water, now you can see this lizard is completely on top of her head, but some of her is going to be in the water. So to emphasize that there's something else in the water as well as water, you could add a brown in. So for example, her hair is brown, so where I added this green in the other picture, I'm going to add some different tones of brown. Is that a darker brown? Look at this one. Yeah, we'll have this one. So I'm going to add in around where the hair is just a little bit of brown only where the hair is, because you'll have bits of hair that'll travel under the water, because when your hair goes under the water it expels out, doesn't it, or splays out. So that's what we're going to do, in the same shape of just where her hair is. It will look all messy, but hey ho. So just put a little tiny bit of that in, and then with Russet, this is just a bit of, just to add a bit of a different tone in there, I'm just going to add a little bit of that in as well, following the ripples that we've created. Don't press hard with your neos, because the last thing you want is to really dig down deep. You're just literally floating it around, just like so. Then with my lightest colour, which is a bit of turquoise, I'm going to go in between these now and build that colour up. And then I'll create more ripples once we water this down. So I want a bit of blue in this bit, but I won't be adding any of the darker blues in this bit just yet. But you can literally, because it's water, you can do any kind of pattern you want. And that's the kind of effect that we're going for right now. So then I'm going to get my biggest brush. Just this one. Let me just pinch some of the water out of this one. They twist the wrong way, these. So let's just pinch some of this water. It doesn't want to come out. I'll leave a little bit in because I want to keep that for the tiny little areas that's in between. There's only one little bit, I think, there and there. Will do. Let's just put the lid back on. And it must be like a left-handed one, this, or something, because it's a left pegger of some form. I'll just take the green out of this. And I always put, I know this sounds daft, I just get a bubble of it on the back of my hand. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the outside areas first. And I'm just going to swish it. So think of a seesaw. Swish it. And you see the ripples it creates. Not too worried if it goes on the other page. So I'm just going to swish this around now and just watch what I'm doing here a little bit. And just slowly start dissolving this bit in. But I'm watching how much I pull it out, because it can overtake your page like you would not believe, and before you know it you're like, oh gosh. And because it's the darkest colour, you can add to it, which I will show you what I do, because I'd rather add it little by little than adding it way too much. And I like putting the blob on the back of my hand purely because sometimes you can squeeze a little bit too much out with your paint pens. And that just helps you control how much you're letting out. So that gives you that effect of the brown hair that would be running through the water if I'd coloured all of this image. So make my blob come back on the back of my hand, and then just activate this section. We'll be adding more blue to it, but we'll be doing it with the crayon itself. So start working again from the bottom. Get a bit more water on your brush. Swishing, swinging it one way to the other with a swing or a seesaw effect. And it gives it that beautiful, where in the other picture it had the green mixed in it because of the colours of the dragon that was coming out underneath. We've got in this one the brown of what would be her hair, and we're going to add more to that in a second anyway when it comes to. So I'm going to put my hand over this way and swish it like so, the same way as we've just done on the pages below, and then just gently activate the darkest bit here. Same under here. And then as it starts to dry, you'll see these other lines, and then this is where you'll start emphasising the pattern you've got going already. Now these books, these Camilla derricos books, they do take water media alright. I mean, I wouldn't plough it with water. But for these Neocolors, it's quite, they do take quite a decent amount of water, because it's not really buckling that much. So this way I'm going to bring this out and kind of soften it off into that background, as you want it to just fade off with nothing. That's why I said make sure you run this bit your lightest of your colours, because you want it to just disappear nice and softly into the background. And I've still a lot to learn with Neocolors. They can do all kinds. But in the background series, I'll probably show you other things that you can do with Neocolor in another video. But this is my water video, so we'll stick to that. Don't want to confuse you with too many things. So let's get on this bit here. Just keep maintaining that stroke. I am going to show you another way to do water with acrylic paints in this series as well, with acrylic paint, pencil and glitter. It's another one I did in a Camilla derricos book in Cute and Creepy, and everyone again said, how did you do that water? But that was more like a swirl. But luckily for me, all the pictures that I do, see how quick is that? So all we're doing now is we're going to work with the crayons rather than putting any more down on the paper. It's where you're going to kind of bring it to life now a little bit more. That's kind of like, think of it as your base colour. But as I was saying, when I do colour in ones that I just colour for myself and I don't video it, I do take a picture of the page before I colour it. So if anyone does say, how did you do that, Shell? I can video it, but sometimes I just like colouring for me. And if no one says, oh, how did you do that, then I don't need to do a video of it. But if anyone asks, I always take a picture of it. So what I'm going to do now, see, we've got these, you can see, if I pull this camera in closer, you can see that you've got all these crevices. So what I'm going to do, you can see that there, Let me just get the focus right on it. See if I can get that focus a little bit clearer. So you can see how now, from that swishing motion, you've made these natural waves. So get your Neocolor, brush your pen on the end, and then add little slices like this. And what you're doing is working with them areas you've got. Because obviously I've improved my technique from when I did that other page since. And you're just kind of making wave effects with it. And you can either do it on your crayon like I've done, or you can do it, you can put your Neocolor on your palette like that and then work it from there. But I think it's too runny for that technique. You can do it, you know, it adds a bit of depth into it, but I like putting that down and then re-wetting that area and going with the floor and creating these other areas. And when you start pulling it out, you can see that it starts giving that texture to the water. So I want to add some turquoise into this section. This section here. I'm being careful not to add too much. I don't want to take too much of the pattern away. Because all you're doing is just building up where it needs it. And I think it gives a gorgeous technique, a look to your water as well. So let's get a bit of the ultramarine. This will just brighten it up in some areas. I'm just watching how much I'm actually putting it down. I don't want it to go too blue, if you get what I mean. Or it start mushing together, if that's the right. Oh, plastic bands flying at me. And then take some of that paint off. Just get some of the water and fade that out. And then keep coming round this way. So I've got some blue here. We'll just emphasise that blue a bit more. And just keep in mind the shape that water creates. And I think if you create that shape, you kind of get that sea look that you're after, or that ripple of water. As we come in towards here, let's just add a bit more blue to this. I'm just literally using the very tip. And that bubble on your back of your hand just gives you available water when you need it. Just be careful it doesn't roll off your hand. I'm just going to come on this side of the picture. So like I said, some of these backgrounds will probably be longer than others, shorter than others. They're not necessarily going to be all an hour. This is quite a quick background. And then you kind of just fade that out, but keeping your brush swirling like water would do. You don't want to lose that effect of water. And I'm glad some people have been saying that I'm explaining it quite well, because when you do these videos, I'm explaining it in a way that I can do it, if that makes sense. But not everyone learns in the same way, so it's hard because I think, oh yeah, I'm doing it all right, and I'm understanding what I'm saying, but you might not necessarily understand what I'm saying. So I'm just going to put some of the dark blue in this, which is the, let's put my blob back on, which is the Prussian Blue. I love this blue, it's gorgeous. So where we've got these here, I'm just going to kind of bring some of this blue into this section because it's quite light. But painting and any art is subjective. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. So, and hopefully you can just take what you can from it and do your own little. You can see how that's starting to look. Then I'm just going to put my clear bubble of water, and then I'm just going to swish that out. The same as we've done with all the other bits that you've put on. And that just gives it a little bit more depth of that colour. You can, if you want to, you don't have to do it this way, you can just scoot little lines of it in places where you think, oh, that's a bit bright and it needs a bit more blue. And then just use your paintbrush and swish it over that piece you've just done. You find that easier than positioning it. It's actually quite nice that how it's that effect it gives, just dropping the crayon on. Well, the good thing as well that Neocolors, they dry pretty quick. So that's good. So what I'm going to do is bring the lighter colours in here and fill this bottom part of the page in. And then swish paint pen about. Now I'm just going to add a few more bits of the royal blue. Is it royal blue? Sorry, ultramarine. And the Prussian blue here, because I just want it to look a bit darker just in that area. And it just helps give it that little bit more depth that I'm after, in closer to the body or the head. And then I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of the russet and add that in down here. So hers going to be in the water here. A little bit more here. I actually quite like the effect that that's giving in the water anyway. And then the raw umber, I'm just going to add a bit of that in as well. So if this was like the other picture, say you was doing the other picture where I'm putting these browns, if you had the lizard in there, you'd put the colours that you coloured your lizard in the water. And you know, you don't have to water down your Neocolors if you don't want to. After you've, obviously, once you've let down your first layer, if you wanted to just keep it like that now, you could do. Because the effect of that looks pretty nice as well. Okay. Let's put a tiny bit line of that in there. I think it's a lovely, like, subtle effect of water. It's not anything too dramatic. Let's just get some water going and bubble on the back of my hand again. I mean, you don't have to do what I've done. You could kind of start moving this around a bit more. So it's not so much as a line, but you can spread it out. I mean, like the water might be a bit ruffled here rather than smooth ripples. You know, as you get out over here, the ripples will start looking more less uniform as we start to go out towards. So now I've used quite a lot of water on, the paper is starting to buckle and break in places. So I'm going to stop with that section. I'm going to take my book this way around. So I think that is enough for the water there. And I'm just going to work a bit more with the colours that we do have here. And just deepen that up a little bit. I kind of want it to look like it's just literally fading off. I'm just going to put a bit of darker blue here. Then I may just put the odd flick of blue in these bits. But my aim is to look dark and travelling off. So that's kind of like behind the head, if that makes sense. Oh, green has just fell off. Where did it go? Okay, I'll just get the paint pen back. Get it nice and wet. I mean, you could put a bubble of water on your palette if you wanted to, but I just like having it on the back of my hand. I don't know why. And then obviously in these bits, so now I'm just kind of changing the technique that I use. So I'm going to do the technique I was using underneath at the sides here as I blend it in. It's going to work. Pen is running out of water really. Could do with go filling it up. But this is how I did that background, and there was nothing, what that was, hard in there at all. So if you're a Neocolor newbie, you can't get simpler than that, in my opinion anyway. Let's just get some of this blue out here. We're just going to drag that towards here and let it fade out and go where it wants to. And then once that's dried off, it's ready for your pencils. And I would do this first. If this was me colouring it, I would do that now, and then I would dry it out, flatten the page down, and then pick it up tomorrow and do the rest of it, because if you've gone in the hair anywhere, you'll be able to go over that with your pencil. But that, everybody, is how I create my water. Now if you wanted to, at this point, it's not dried down here, you can get a white gel pen or a white Posca, so let's have a see what white have we got here. So I've just got a Holbein soft white, and you can just literally add the tiniest bit of white to it. This is just for example, whatever white you've got, just pick it up and just put some jagged ripply lines in it. And if you wanted to, you could do some kind of bubbles. I mean, this is not going on the best at the minute because it's still a bit wet. Probably would be better off to leave it as dry, but for example, just do this when it's dry, and you'll get a better effect with it. But I'm just showing you why it's wet. And if you wanted to, you could get a white gel pen. Get this going. They either want to work my signals or they don't. Let me just see if I've got another one, because I think that one might be out. If not, I'll grab my artesian ones out. Just grab the artesian pens out. Now, I didn't do this on my other page, but I'm just showing you this. If you wanted to, just going to get my 0.6 out, wherever it's gone. It's always the one that you don't get to come out. There we go. And you could always just put a few circles in and make the bubble effect around in places. And they're just simple round random circles if you want to do that around the edge. And that gives it another effect on top of that. Obviously this would lay down much better if just come in closer so you can see what it looks like. So just kind of like highlight it, and what you're creating is like a foamy kind of effect just around where it's kind of gathering in by the head. You're still going to see your other colours underneath, but it just gives you that. You can do little ones like that. You can do elongated bubbles like that. Entirely up to you. It might travel the whole bit of that ripple. I'm assuming this is because it's wet, but these are teasers. I feel like retracting my review because, like, it says they're meant to be a continuous flow, but I'm having to get this going again, which isn't what you want. So you could just do this around this bit and then kind of bring it out in little areas around here. And you're just doing that. Just let your wrist do the work. Don't think. The best thing you can do is just don't think about it. Just put your little dots in, little foamy areas, and then literally just wiggle your hand about and make these squiggles. And it just, honestly, you get amazing effects by just not thinking about it. Just do it. Sometimes we all overthink our skills, and sometimes the simplest methods make the best effects. You see? Just a little bit here. Just right, for a second. And then just adding a few bits on. Obviously them bits you do when your picture's finished, but just to give it that bubble effect, if that's what you wanted, were things like the white crest of the water, you could just do that and make it look like it's really bubbly there if you really wanted to, but your background effect is still there. So everyone, that is day 4, and I hope you've enjoyed that. That's these beautiful Neocolors. So let me pop them back on screen. So we used Turquoise Blue. They're going to roll off everywhere. Turquoise Blue, Light Blue, Ultramarine. I'm trying to get these, but you might not even see them. And Prussian Blue. And then for the effect that there's hair underneath there as well, we used Russet and Raw Umber. Now I'm going to zoom that in. Hopefully it's clear enough for you to see what colours I've used. So this one's turquoise, light blue, ultramarine, Prussian blue, russet, and raw umber. There you go. So they're the colours I've used, if you wanted to screenshot that. And there you have, let me just move some of these out of the way. My beautiful water effect with Neocolors. So I hope you've enjoyed day 4. Not as long as yesterday, but not all my backgrounds will take ages. They will be quick and easy, just like this. But that's how I created the same background on this page, only I added green to it. You can see, and my technique has got slightly better after using them. These were not long after I started using them, and this is where I've just got a bit more control with my brush. So there's the 2 images side by side. So I hope you've enjoyed day 4. Give me a lovely comment of what you think below. If you're liking what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button, whack the like button, and dingle my bell. Good day everyone, and I will see you on day 5. Much love for following along if you are. Don't forget, hashtag backgroundery on Instagram, tag my name at shellarty.x on your images you upload to Instagram, both of them, and I will see them and your image will go on the hashtag. If you don't have Instagram, you can follow me along on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, Shellarty and Colouring Friends. Link is in the description below. You can pick up the creative background colour charts as well that I've shown you on previous days, which are these. We have these ones for the background area, so you can do your creative ideas in here on these boxes, just like I did with the bamboo. So they're the plain ones. You can print them off. They are for personal use. Please don't share them outside of the group. The bare image of them is what I'm meaning. Don't use them, the bare image, outside. Once they're coloured like this, you can show them off anywhere. But they're really good idea charts. What Kirsty, who helps me run my Shellarty and Colouring Friends group, has wonderfully designed these colour charts and given them for free to the members of Shellarty and Colouring Friends. So don't forget to head on over to the group. We've put an album up for anyone that wants to add their backgrounds on. You're quite welcome to put them in there, as well as Amazon, as well as Instagram. You can put them in that album as well. Don't be afraid to do either. And if you don't have Instagram, you can follow along on the background area hashtag on Facebook. Just hashtag background area and enter your picture into the album that's been put up on Shellarty and Colouring Friends. So that's everything covered. Please, please, please give me them thumbs up. It really helps my channel, and the comments really help my channel as well. And for everyone that's done lovely, beautiful comments, I've tried to reply to everybody so far that I've seen. If not, just give me another holler and say, you've not answered me, Shell. And I'll come down and do it. But much love to everybody that has been following along on these days, and I will see you on day 5. Bye everybody.